We have our vehicle apart. We're going to install the first wiring harness. We're going to go ahead and we're going to unplug the ignition plug of the vehicle. A little bit hard to see because it's behind this harness here. There's a clip in the front. We're going to press the clip and remove the plug. We're now going to use a razor blade or a razor knife and just cut the electrical tape. We're going to cut the electrical tape on the other side. Just score it. We don't want to cut our conductors. Okay, now we should have this protective loom right here. Pretty tough stuff. I'm just going to use scissors. I'm going to remove the protective loom. You can save it if you want to tape it back on after. This will give us a little bit of wire here to work with. We're going to make 5 connections here. We're going to want to be careful when we make our connections. We don't make them too close because then we'll have interference with the steering column cover plastic. So I'm just going to go back a little bit with this tape, remove a little bit more tape, and now we have our harness separate right here. Okay, at this point we'll go ahead and we'll make our connections. Now we're going to leave the plug orientated this way with the clip facing the driver's door. We're going to apply our taps and we're going to want to keep them kind of straight up. That way our connections will be pointed upward and they'll be in this empty void right here when we put the vehicle back together. We're looking at the plug from the back and I've splayed the wires so we can look at them. So this is your 12-volt power wire right here. Both of these are actually power. There's one, it's blue with a red stripe right next to it. Both of these are powered and they're tied common back here. So it doesn't matter which one you connect to. So you could connect to either one of these 2 terminals right here for power. Okay? So our primary ignition or ignition would be this white wire with an orange stripe coming out of the corner pin. Our first accessory would be this brown wire with a yellow stripe. Our starter wire, corner pin, blue with a white stripe. Our accessory, or another accessory, accessory 2, would be this or purple with a green stripe up at the top. So there's our wires. I'll go through them again. Power, ignition 1, accessory, this one up here, the corner pin, hard to see right here, accessory, and then this one down here on the lower row, corner pin, is the starter. We're going to be using a compression style connector. We're going to unscrew the piece with a groove in it from the connector. We're going to place the piece with a groove in it over the wire. We're going to screw the connector back together. When we do that, this needle is going to pierce the wire, providing a connection point. We're going to remember to stay back a little bit. Right here where these 2 wires come together, the 2 power wires, we're going to apply our first posi tap. We're going to make sure we do not cross thread the tap. We're going to tighten it down. You'll feel it piercing the wire, and we're just going to snug it up. We don't have to crank it down really tight. I'm going to repeat this procedure on the remaining 4 wires. We have our taps installed. We're going to go ahead and we're going to make our connections. So we have our primary harness or our ignition wire harness, and we have the ends ready to just pull off. We're going to start with the power. connector. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to pull off the wire so I leave about 1/4 of an inch of stripped wire here. We're going to loosen the collar of our power tap. That is the tap connected to our 12-volt power wire. Now we're going to push the wire into the end, and when we do this, it's going to bottom out. It's bottomed out right here. I'm going to push it down, and you're going to see how far it just went in. Really far. You're going to push it down in there hard, and then tighten the collar. Crank the collar down pretty good, and our connection will be complete. We're going to go ahead and we're going to do the white wire with an orange stripe. So we're going to take our solid pink wire and we're going to make our connection. So we're going to remove the insulation. We're going to loosen our collar, and you can see how much I've loosened it. I'm going to put the wire in. Going to make sure it goes down into the connector. Going to tighten. Now we're going to do our first accessory, which is going to be our gray. So we're gray from our primary harness to the first accessory, which is brown with a yellow stripe, which I'll give you a close-up at the end of these connections. Okay, so we got it in. We can give them a pull test to make sure we got a good bite. Next, we'll do our accessory 2, which on our unit is our pink wire with a white stripe. So we'll take this over to our accessory 2 tap, and we'll make our connection. Now last will be our starter, which is brown on our unit. And we'll go ahead and we'll loosen the collar on the final tap. Push our wire in and tighten the collar. I'll go ahead and I'll give you a close-up of the connections. Okay, so we're going to review our connections. Positive 12 volts to the blue wire with a red stripe. Ignition would be the white wire with an orange stripe to our solid pink. Accessory 1 would be our gray wire to the brown wire with a yellow stripe. Accessory 2 would be our pink wire with a white stripe to the violet wire with a green stripe. And our starter wire, which is brown, would be to the blue wire with a white stripe. And again, use your plug schematic to verify these connections. Okay, we have our primary or ignition harness installed. We're going to go ahead and we're going to plug our ignition switch back in. The next connection we're going to make is a plug-in connection. It's done at the immobilizer of the vehicle. We're going to go ahead and we're going to unplug the immobilizer plug to the vehicle. We're going to install our immobilizer T-harness. We're going to go ahead and unband the harness. We're going to plug the vehicle's immobilizer plug into our T-harness. We're going to make sure it securely locks in. We're going to plug our T-harness into the vehicle's immobilizer. We're going to extend our cable to meet the end of the primary or ignition harness. We're going to install our diagnostic plug T-harness. We're going to want to remove the 7mm screws holding the diagnostic plug. We're going to plug our diagnostic plug T-harness end into the diagnostic plug. We're then going to snap the diagnostic plug into our bracket, and when we're done with the installation, we can reinstall the diagnostic plug. With our bracket, we've actually T-harnessed in We put a T-harness in the diagnostic plug so we don't have to make connections there. This becomes your new diagnostic plug, so you still have access to scan your vehicle or whatever. I'm going to go ahead and route our cable up and out. Looking for a ground point. I don't see anything great, so I'm going to put in a self-tapping screw for my ground. So I'm going to go to the structure bar up here. I'm going to show you where I am after I install the ground. Self-tapper, ground ring. I'll give you a closer look. Okay, so you can see up there where I am right here on my finger, the ground ring with the red on it. Make sure you have a good solid ground. If I back out, so you can see exactly where I am. To start plugging in some equipment now. This is how the basic unit will ship. You have a valet switch, an LED status indicator light, and we have a cable that goes to our bypass module. Okay, the first thing we're going to plug in is our harness with the ground wire. So we'll go ahead and we'll plug this into our remote starter. Make sure it goes all the way in and locks. Pull on it. There's a, these have to be pushed all the way in or it will come out. Now we're going to put the main ignition harness connector and the power to our unit. And we're going to go ahead on to the next step. Okay, we're going to unband the module data cable. And we're going to use our anti-theft module now. There's a button located on the top right here, a little push button. We're going to hold this push button down while we plug in the 4-pin data plug to our module. When we do this, the lights on the front are going to begin to cycle. We're going to want to release when a solid red light is lit. So again, I'm going to hold the button. I'm going to plug in the data cable. We want to release on red. If we make a mistake, we can redo the procedure. If we release on the wrong color, we can go ahead and redo the procedure. Release on red. With a solid red light, being very careful not to touch the button. I want you to plug in the immobilizer T-harness 20-pin plug. And then I want you to plug in the plug from the diagnostic plug connector into the module also. Okay, so our red light is still lit. At this point, we're going to press and release the button. We're now going to place the key in the ignition and turn it to the run position. We're going to have the yellow light come on. We're going to shut the key off. We're going to wait. The red light will go on. We'll turn the key on again. We're going to wait a second. And now we're going to go ahead, after the blue light flashes and the red and yellow alternate, we're going to shut the key off and remove it. We're going to bring the module to the computer to complete programming. This is necessary because we're using one key programming. This will eliminate the need to have two OEM keys for the programming of this device. We're going to unplug the module. We're going to unplug the diagnostic plug white connector from the back. We're going to unplug the 20 pin. from the immobilizer, and then we're going to unplug the 4-pin data cable. Okay, in order to run the decryptor process, we need to download the FlashLink Manager from Fortin's website. We'll also need a Windows 10 compatible PC. It does not work on Mac, does not work on Android, and you could have problems using it on a Windows 7 PC, as the PC must be fully updated. And when I say updated, I mean every single update, or it will not install correctly. So we're going to go to www.ifar.ca. Once we get there to the website, we're going to go ahead and we're going to click the support tab. We're going to scroll down. We're going to view the FlashLink Manager page. We're going to select download now. It's going to ask us to agree with the end user license agreement. We'll click OK. At this point, it will want to download the program. Go ahead and save the program, and then you're going to open up the program and follow the prompts to complete the registration for your free account with Fortin. Once you have set up your free account, you'll be able to use the FlashLink Manager. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to show you how that works. After downloading the FlashLink Manager, you'll open up the program and you'll have to click here where it says create an account to create your account. You'll fill out a form. It'll be a generic form. A couple weird things on the form. It'll ask you for a website. Just put www.warmcarnow.com, and then it'll ask you for a business name. Just put any business name in there. It doesn't matter. Once you create your account, Fortin will send you an email. When you respond to the email, you'll be able to log in, but you will not be able to log in until you respond. A lot of times, the email goes into the spam folder. If you check your spam folder, you don't have your email, you can't find the email, try to do the forgot your password to see if you get an email. And at that point, you'll be able to respond to the email so you can get into your account. Okay, so we haven't plugged anything into the computer up to this point, so don't plug your device in until we get to this point. You're going to have your FlashLink light. It's going to have a USB cable that's going to plug in the computer, and it's going to have a cable that's going to plug in the module. A good way to make sure the program installed correctly is to plug the FlashLink light into the computer. The screen will change. If you watch the screen, it's going to detect it. It's going to let you know that the programmer is connected. Right now it says it's unable to detect the FlashLink updater. So we're plugged in now, and we're just going to wait. Okay, so we're waiting for the screen to acknowledge this has been connected. The computer has detected the FlashLink light programmer. We're now going to plug our module in, 4-pin plug. When we do this, our module is going to be inspected. We're going to just set the module down right now. We're going to come up to a screen that looks like this. So what we're going to do is we're going to select the decryptor tab. This is all you want to select. There are no features that you can change on the module. If you do change things on the module, it could prevent it from working. So we're just going to select decryptor. You can have a screen that's asking us to transfer key data. Now the previous steps that we did in the vehicle were data sampling steps. They allowed us to sample the vehicle's immobilizer data. Now we're going to send that data to Fortin for decryption. It's going to be decrypted. It's going to be loaded back on the module. I'm going to click Send Data. Okay, the decryptor process is completing now. Don't unplug the module until we get the next screen, and you will see. Okay, it's telling us it's finished. We can reinstall the module. We're going to go ahead, we're going to disconnect the module from the FlashLink light. and we're going to go back to the vehicle. Now keep in mind, if we get an error message that you have to do the decryption process over, decryption processes are limited to 4 decryptions. The server will lock you out if you try to decrypt over and over. The flash link light is restricted to 8 operations. The operation we just performed counts as 1. You should not need this again unless you're doing a decryption. So we've used 1 operation. You still have 7 left on this device. Okay, so we're back in our vehicle. We finished the decryption process on our device. We're going to go ahead and we're going to plug in. Now, when we plug in, we don't hold any buttons. We're just going to straight plug the device in. We're going to plug the 4-pin data plug in first. Then we're going to plug the CAN plug from the diagnostic connector in. Then we're going to plug in the 20-pin plug from our immobilizer connection. At this point, we can test for communication between the module, the vehicle, and the remote starter by pressing the lock button on our OEM remote. We do this, the blue light on the device should blink 1 time. This is indication that our devices are communicating. So at this point, we're going to trigger a remote start. Okay, we're outside of our vehicle and we're going to activate remote start. The lock symbol's worn off of this remote. We're going to trigger remote start by pressing lock 3 times. Now we have the lights in the auto position. I'm going to shut the vehicle off. Okay, so we're looking up high in the driver's kick panel. If you look up back here, you see that harness with the tags on it? So if you look, you'll see that there is a violet wire with a white stripe here. So if you test that wire with the parking lights on, which I'm trying to hold the tablet and do, here I'm going to put the test light on it when I get it isolated. Here. Okay. So my test light's on the wire, parking lights are on, and you'll see that the test light is lit. Okay, so I have my test light hanging from the wire. If you look, it goes over to this gray plug up here. Right there. It's violet with a white stripe. Very hard to make this connection. This is where I get it rather than running over in the passenger kick panel. If you're going to connect the parking lights here, that is a valid connection. So you can connect the white wire from the unit right to this wire. I'm going to move on to the keyless entry. I may find another easier to connect parking light wire in the driver's kick panel. Start by removing this push clip in the driver's kick panel. So we got behind it and we got it out a little bit. We're just going to pull that pin out. Now we're going to pop off this cover with our plastic tool. Going to insert it in and just pop up the clips all the way down. They'll fight us. They'll be tough. A little better picture here for you. Okay, so this is what we're dealing with, getting these to release. I'm going to go ahead and remove this kick panel. So we're trying to release clips without breaking clips. Remove that door gasket. We'll pull towards the back of the truck. We'll sneak this out. Alright, with the kick panel removed, we have access to this main wiring harness. Okay, so the parking light wire, it is violet with a white stripe. Here's a good ground point. And we're going to turn on the parking lights. That light's going to go on. Okay, so that is a parking light wire. Our horn connection originates from this plug. The wire comes from this plug, run down this tube. This is on the steering column, the bottom of the steering column here, next to the ignition. Down here there's yellow and red, but notice there's two yellow and red. Only one of them's the horn wire. It seems to have a thinner red stripe than the other one. So we're going to probe it. We don't want to probe everything. We only want to probe this because a test light around the airbags is kind of a no-no. So we're just going to probe this one yellow with a red stripe, thinner red stripe. The horn will honk. This is our horn connection. We have a solid yellow wire coming off of our unit we're going to connect here. Okay, so we're going to apply a posi tap to this wire. And we're going to go ahead and screw it together. Okay, now, as I said, there'll be some extra wires on our harness. We're going to use the yellow wire. So if you're buying this with the keyless entry and all those features, this stuff will be all out for you. I'm going to leave everything here for expansion, even if you don't buy it with keyless entry. I'm going to show you how to program a tachometer reference to our remote start module. This will increase the reliability, and definitely I would say do this step for diesel. Now I have the horn connected here. Doesn't matter if you have the horn connected or not. When I go into programming mode, I'm going to get feedback through the horn. If I don't have the horn connected, the module is going to click. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm just going to disconnect the horn while we do this procedure. I'm going to start the vehicle with the key. I'm going to wait till the engine idles down. I would like to at least be below 1,000. There we go. Okay. So we're going to let the engine idle down before we do anything. We have the engine running on the key. We're going to press and release the program button 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The unit will click back 5 times and blink the lights 5 times and honk the horn 5 times if they're connected. But it'll always click back 5 times even if you don't have it connected. Now we'll press the program button 1 time, and now we'll press the brake pedal, and as soon as the unit clicks, we'll release the brake pedal. We'll now shut the key off, remove it from the ignition. Now a tachometer reference is set with our remote starter. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to activate. Now we'll have a nice clean release of the starter, and we'll know if the vehicle stalls. This tachometer signal will pick that up and restrike the starter. And I'll simulate that right now. I can disconnect the ignition wire. So I'll disconnect the ignition wire while it's running to simulate an engine stall. So it's stalled out. Now the remote starter should see this. Now it's just shut down. It's detected it. Now it's coming back on, and I haven't pushed a button again, and it's going to restart the vehicle. The unit will do this up to 3 times. So it's good to have the tachometer connected just in case the engine shuts off, the remote starter will know, and it'll attempt to restart the engine. If it doesn't restart after the third attempt, it will give up and not try to start the engine any further. I'm going to go ahead and shut the vehicle down by pressing the brake. Okay, so here's another feature to the system. I'll just go over real quick. Say the vehicle's running on the key. We're driving our vehicle. We want to make a stop. We want to leave it running. We don't want to shut it off and restart it. With the engine running, we're going to lock the doors 3 times. This will trigger the remote starter to turn on. But because the key's in and on, the engine's not going to crank. It's just going to turn on the remote starter. If you look, the module is active right now. We're going to shut the key off, take it out. The vehicle's going to run for the 20-minute run time. We can go ahead and close the door and lock it, and the vehicle will stay running. Well, we can shut down at any time. This feature is called Quick Stop. So we would use this feature. We could also activate a turbo timer using a combination of the brake and Quick Stop if we have a diesel and we want the turbo cool down mode. So I've preset the turbo timer to 3 minutes. There's a 1 minute, a 3 minute, and a 5 minute turbo time run time that can be programmed into the unit without using any programmer. I may go over some of the programming things, make a video at the end so you can change options that you want. The options now are changed through the remote starter and the valet switch, not the programmer. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to put the vehicle in turbo cool down mode. So with the engine running on the key, I'm going to start it. It's going to be a little loud. I apologize. Okay, so the engine's running on the key. What we're going to do is we're going to hold the brake pedal with our foot. We'll be sitting in the truck. We're going to activate remote start by locking the doors 3 times. Doors are going to unlock. If you have your parking lights hooked up, they're going to blink. We're going to now shut the key off and take it out. The truck will run for 3 minutes and shut down on its own. Now this is how we activate turbo timer with the OEM remote. I'm going to shut the vehicle off by pressing the brake pedal so I can talk without the vehicle running in the background. So if we have the OEM remote, we can activate the turbo timer this way. So you have to hold the brake down and activate the quick stop or the idle down mode that I showed you in the previous steps to do that. There's another way we can do it as well. I'm going to include another harness in here. I'm going to make sure it's in. It's going to have a green wire. It's going to have an orange plug on it. It's going to plug into this orange plug. Don't confuse it with the white port. We want to go into the orange port with the orange wire or the orange plug end. Orange plug end to the orange port. This is the white port. It'll fit in there, but that's wrong. We'll have a problem if we plug this in the wrong port and do what I'm going to show you. So we're going to plug this in the orange port. You're going to take this wire. You can wire this to a momentary contact push button. Now when I ground this wire 3 times, it's going to trigger remote start. So you can mount a switch in the vehicle, you push it 3 times while you're holding the brake, and you'll engage the turbo timer mode. So I'll just ground this 1, 2, 3. And you can see, you can hear the remote starter kick on. And it's going to start the vehicle. So I have the push button mounted in my truck on my dash, so I could hit it 3 times, would start the vehicle, wouldn't have to have a key. If I had somebody waiting in the vehicle or something, I wanted the heat to run, I don't want to leave the key in or anything, just hit the button 3 times and a truck will start. So this harness will be in there. It'll be a 3-pin. I'll probably strip out the other 2 wires and just leave the green wire here. So that goes in the orange port. It's a manual trigger for remote starting. In the event you want to wire in some type of push button that you can ground 3 times to start the vehicle. So now we're going to move on. I'll show you some parking light connection here if you want the parking lights to come on. On this vehicle was pretty simple. I'm going to show you a really cool feature that our remote starter has. Now, no matter what way you purchase this, you will have this feature. It's awesome for diesel trucks in a cold weather climate. This will give us timed self-remote starting every 1, 2, 3, or 4 hours. I'm going to show you how to engage it. This truck has an exhaust leak, so it's a little bit loud, so I do apologize. So I'm going to show you what to do. So this is the instructions if you don't have a separate remote and you're just activating off of the OEM remote. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to have the engine running when we do this. So the engine is running. We're going to activate remote start by locking the doors 3 times. Now when I do this, listen, the doors are going to unlock. 1, 2, 3. So the remote starter turned on and the doors unlocked. We're going to shut the key off, remove it from the ignition. Within 10 seconds, press this button the number of times representing the hours you want to start. So I want to start every 4 hours. So I'll go 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm going to exit the vehicle, close the door, and then I'm going to shut the engine off by pressing lock 3 times. When I do this, you listen, this unit's going to click back 4 times, or the parking lights will flash 4 times if you have them connected. And this is an indication of it's going to start every 4 hours. So there's our 4 clicks. If we were outside, you'd see the parking lights blink 4 times. Now this truck will start every 4 hours until you drive it with the key. So it's going to reset automatically from turning the ignition on and turning it off. It's good. In the operator's manual, it goes over all this stuff. So, you know, you wanna read this and at least skim through it. But you can also do a couple of other features I'm going to show you from outside. Okay, so we're outside the vehicle. We're going to test for an alarm. You want to make sure you got the hood closed. You got all the other doors closed. Either lock it with the remote or press these 2 buttons on your keyless. Doors are going to lock. We're going to wait. You're going to have to wait about 3 minutes. So we're back at the vehicle. We have the window down. Check to see if we have an alarm. We're going to open the door. We're going to pull the lock up and we're going to open the door. Now, if we look on the dash, it says to stop alarm, start vehicle. So we're not going to do that. We're going to wait. One more alarm. Okay, so if we want to add keyless entry and get the parking lights down here, we're going to have to get into this harness. I don't want to just cut to me already have found the wires. I'm going to just show you the process. Basically, we're looking for 3 wires. Power lock, power unlock, right here, in here. So our target wires, blue, green, yellow, violet. That's the spot. So now let's look for the lock wire, blue and green, and we'll keep an eye out for the unlock, which is yellow, violet. So we'll go ahead. I'm just going to look through. So blue, green, yellow, violet. Here's a blue, green right here. So pull this suspect wire out. Now I like this method because when you probe the right wire, you'll hear the locks work. Hear them? So that is our lock wire. I'm going to unlock the doors with a switch. Listen. That's our lock wire. So our unlock wire, our unlock is yellow, violet. So we're going to look over here for the yellow, violet. There's the yellow green. So let's keep our two wires separate here. Just make sure I got the right color here. Power unlock. Yellow violet. Okay, here we go. Yellow violet right here. Okay, so I'm gonna test that. Now, listen. It's unlock. Lock. Okay, we're going to make our keyless entry connections. Again, we're going to use the posi tap. Going to unscrew first wire, our lock wire, blue with green. We're going to go ahead and we're going to put our posi tap piece with a groove in it over the wire. Going to screw the needle in. We'll keep these up high if possible. Okay, so we're going to do the other one. Going to do the yellow with violet, or unlock wire. Okay, so we're going to make our connections. We have our lock wire, which is this green wire. Strip the end. We have our unlock wire, which is this blue wire. We strip the end. This is on a 3-pin plug with the center pin open, and it's the white plug. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to insert, we're going to loosen the collar and insert our wire in. Push it in. Make sure it bottoms out good. Tighten the collar. Same with the unlock. Got the collar loose, insert the wire, push it in, tighten the collar. Okay, so now we have a white wire coming out of our remote starter harness, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to connect this to the parking lights. Loosen the collar, push the wire in, tighten the collar. Regular operation of the remote is as follows. To lock the doors, press the button one time. The doors will lock silently. If I press it again, I'll get a horn honk confirmation. To unlock the vehicle, press the unlock button. If I press it one time, it's going to unlock silently and turn on the parking lights for 30 seconds. If I press it again, it's going to give me a 2-honk unlock confirmation. Now, this is a 3-button remote. It's considered a 4-button remote, but this button doesn't do anything except for toggle it between 2 vehicles. If I had 2 vehicles that I want to work from this remote, I can do that. I can program one when the light is blue, and then I can hold this vehicle button down. The light will go red. Now, this remote could be introduced to a separate vehicle on red, so it would work vehicle 1 on blue, vehicle 2 on red. So it's multi-channel, dual vehicle capable. I'm going to show you another couple of features here. So we can disable remote starting by pressing the lock and the unlock button simultaneously, holding them down. The horn will honk 3 times. The unit is now in valet mode. We try to start it. Instead of starting, it'll blink the lights 3 times. So to take it out of valet mode, we're going to repeat the procedure. Now the vehicle will start normally. I'm not going to let it start. I'm going to fail it before it starts. Now the next one is a runtime extender. You have the vehicle running. Say it's been running and you know it's going to shut off, but you want it to continue running. I'm going to show you what to do. So I'm going to start it by remote first. And again, it's going to be a little bit loud. The vehicle has an exhaust leak. Okay, so we're running. Say it's been running for 20 minutes. You want it to continue to run for another 20 minutes. While it's running, press the lock and unlock button and hold it down. The lights will blink to indicate that the runtime reset has been performed. So we're going to hold them down. There's our 3 blinks. The runtime will start from 0 and it will continue to run another 30 minutes. So I'm going to activate the time self-start option with the optional key fob that we have. So again, with the engine running, we would go ahead and trigger remote start by pressing the start button or the button with the key. The remote starter will turn on. We'll now shut the key off, remove it from the ignition, press the button 3 times, 1, 2, 3, and now we're going to exit the vehicle and close the door. Now we're outside the vehicle, we're going to go ahead and shut it off. When we shut the vehicle off by locking the door with this remote, it's going to automatically shut off the engine, then the lights are going to blink to represent the number of hours between self-starts. 1, 2.